Welcome to GDIT Perspectives. I'm Roger Cressy with Mountain Wave Ventures, and it is a pleasure to be back here with Amy Gilliland, President of GDIT.
Roger, it is great to spend some more time with you. Thanks.
Absolutely. We did this a year ago.
Okay.
And a lot has happened. And so we have a lot of different issues and ground to cover. So let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
So let's start with 2025. Not a dull year. A lot has happened. It was tremendous change, new administration, DOGE, GSA, consulting firms under attack, a government shutdown that was really unprecedented in length, and yet GDIT had tremendous success last year. What was the secret to it? What did you do that was such a difference maker?
Thank you for that question. It was certainly an adventure of a year, but a very exciting one. And we had an established strategy in place, and we went after it. So we weren't reacting to anything we'd been looking for a long time, because what was consistent is the federal government had technology requirements, and we had invested over a long time in our technology as well as our workforce, and we were ready to bring those solutions to bear. So on the one hand, I would say that we just put our head down and focused on what we could control, which was our technically differentiated strategy, and that's what our customer needed. I think also, in addition to that, our customers needed us, and it would have been an easy time because it was so stressful and programs were being cut and positions were being changed for us to try and fight against that. But instead, we understood that our customers needed our help. So partnering with our customers through that, showing them how some of these technology requirements that they need to bring to bear, and frankly, an administration that embraced commercial technology in new ways, fabulous opportunity to showcase what we had been looking at for the prior couple of years. So I'd say we were ready for it. And so we looked at what we could do and focused our time there, and we come into 2026 with a lot of momentum.
Absolutely. And so it's really a great success story because the strategy you had put in place, you executed on it in this very turbulent environment, and you were quite successful.
Got to focus on what you can control, Roger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been told that a lot, and I don't do it enough, but you have now announced an evolution of the strategy called VIA. What was the driver behind that? You had done so well, and now you're looking to take it to the next level. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question, and I appreciate how you phrase that question, because VIA is not a totally new thing. Right. It is the natural next step in the technology differentiation strategy that we put in place, really starting in 2022, effectively implemented in 2023, 2024, 2025. Why VIA? Why now? Well, we have a front row seat to some of the most spectacular technology evolution in our generation. And you commented that we did have a change in administration. Priorities are different. And so one thing is clear: as a technology provider, we cannot sit still. And what was good enough yesterday, what served the mission yesterday, is not what serves the mission today. So, not to be over the top on this, but I think we find ourselves in a totally new era. And I think that era calls for us to look at everything, including our strategy, and figure out what we need to tweak. Right. So VIA, let's just talk about VIA for a second, all right? So what is VIA? VIA is vision first. Vision is, for a large organization like ours, how we help ourselves focus on the mission. And our strategic missions are really important right now. So we have mission campaigns, innovation. We are a technology business. We have to continue to innovate. And how do we do that? Well, we have to invest. And because you've been following our story, we talked about it a year ago, we've been investing over the last couple of years. 10 digital accelerators really focused on our customers' pipeline and what they're focused on: AI, cyber, software development. But it was time that we took the next step and really increased our investments in technology solutions. Those solutions are in areas that are important to our customers' missions, like full spectrum cyber, like aerial defense, etc. So the technology solutions are a new part of what we're focused on. And then finally, acceleration. I view speed now, and we see it everywhere, as the most important thing that we do. We need to bring what we can to the mission as quickly as possible. And anything that helps us accelerate that is critical. So on the acceleration side, we have really doubled down on our partnerships. So we can talk a little bit more about that, but our commercial partners are making incredible investments in technology, and it is our responsibility as a systems integrator to bring those technologies to bear. And then in addition to that, we have a tremendous workforce, our greatest asset at GDIT. But when you pair that workforce with the pace of change in technology, we have to bring them together. And so we continue to look at how we can build the greatest workforce of the future. And that means that we need to invest in the workforce that we have. So really, VIA is about bringing all of those together so that we can reach across GDIT and the entirety of the corporation.
So that's really exciting because the strategy has worked to this point. You now are adding additional pieces to it. You're going to execute on it. And I think for a workforce that has achieved so much success, that's a really exciting
Mission
approach.
never stands still.
It never stands
Never
still.
stands still.
So let's talk about the mission a little bit. You mentioned market, mission campaigns. Where are you focused in the mission campaign world right now?
Yeah, the mission campaigns. First of all, let me make clear that mission campaigns are places we have been in for a long time. So this isn't like, oh, GDIT is just coming up with a new area to focus on. Really, the campaigns are for us to leverage all the resources across GDIT in places where we might have been going to market individually, but not harnessing everything, by the way, not just of GDIT, but across the broader General Dynamics also with mission systems and land systems. And so how do we take a more holistic perspective? And the mission campaigns were really born out of the priorities of the mission today. And the areas make a lot of sense. So, for instance, battle space of the future. What's so interesting about battle space of the future is that battle space of the future, you might think of like far off lands and Golden Dome, and that's absolutely yes. But battle space of the future is also on our home turf, right? It could include our borders. It could include our energy infrastructure. It could include our ports. It could include
critical infrastructure.
Critical infrastructure, exactly. Yeah. So battle space of the future helps as a business us to think more holistically about what does that look like, and the solutions that we build are really for that. So I mentioned before, for instance, aerial defense, right? We built a tool called Dogma. It is an aerial technology capability that incorporates AI, it incorporates technology around how we can track all kinds of moving targets, right, with radar and other sorts of things, and brings them together to help make better decisions in an environment where we might not have all of the information. Well, you instantly might think about drones and asymmetric kind of threats like we're seeing in Ukraine and maybe even in Iran and elsewhere. But you should also be thinking about your own energy grid at home. In addition to that, border infrastructure, we have towers on the border where we can bring autonomous solutions, for example. So many kinds of technologies that you might think about in other applications can also be applied to the border. So thinking about that, and their state border, states have Texas, for instance. We're working with the state of Texas. Well, we're also working with the broader federal government on that. So lots of ways that we can bring pieces of the business together and capabilities that we have and bring them to bear for the customer. And finally, smart government. We have budget problems right now, and the government has to be more efficient. And so we are looking at ways that we can do that. Agentic AI at scale, for instance. We have lots of examples of how we're doing that, saving time, increasing the successful resolution of questions by 300%, as an example. How could we bring AI to bear to write code, to test code, and to put cyber around code in a way that helps us all feel protected. So in any event, really excited about these mission campaigns. There's a lot of energy behind it. And for me, what is particularly rewarding right now is that I'm seeing the business come together in ways that we've never come together before. And so I really think that's a 1 and 1 equals 3.
Well, it's taken the mission to a different level with these campaigns and being successful as you're doing it. One of the areas you talked about was technology investment and an increased amount of investment by GDIT in that area. Can you talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so let me say this. First of all, there's lots of ways that we can look at technology investment. This is the internal investment, all right? And we have been investing in those 10 digital accelerators. I talked about solutions. How do we double down on solutions that may be more holistic in their approach? So we have a solution, as an example, because I think that's the best way to really articulate this to you, called ALO. ALO is our name for basically our AI software factory. And it is an agile AI tool factory that we can manipulate in different ways to solve various AI challenges that our customers have. So, all right, Amy, like, tell me what that really means in English. The GAO came out with a report not too long ago that said we have $250 to $500 billion of fraud in the healthcare system. That probably doesn't surprise you. It's really unfortunate and sad, and as taxpayers, we don't want any of that there because it's driving all of our healthcare costs up. But we have a contract and a large footprint at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, and we're able to implement our AI factory, our AI tool, ALO, and really identify fraud in the systems, billions of dollars that we've saved the government as a result of this tool. That is a place where technology solution can be brought to bear to the betterment of smart government, to the betterment of being more efficient, as an example. Another example, Zero Trust. We invested in a Zero Trust stack, and we are deploying that stack for the Air Force, 1 million users across 187 bases worldwide. And so here we brought a solution to the Air Force. The Air Force needed something in place by 2027 so that they could protect their bases, and they're using the Zero Trust stack that we have. It is a totally flexible stack, so this works for the Air Force, but we can also tailor that for a lot of different customers. So 2 specific examples of where we have really leaned into investing in solutions that we know our customers need and delivering them to the betterment of the mission. And I'm super excited about that.
Real-world examples that are making real-world difference. So let's talk about partnerships.
Okay.
The administration's been very clear about wanting commercial technology to get into government faster in ways that it has never done before.
Yes.
You have a tremendous relationship with a number of very, very important partners in this space. Can you talk a little bit about your solution partner approach?
Yeah. So you're 100% right. And it is great to be a systems integrator because we can be an independent arbiter for the government. We don't have a professed interest in one technology over the other. It is really about taking what we know about mission requirements and customer needs and pairing them with what we've learned is emerging or established in industry as technology solutions. Part of it is identifying the technologies that are out there. The other part of it is bringing them to the mission, and you need to be very thoughtful and deliberate about that. On the emerging technology side, when we look at our pipeline, a third of our pipeline involves what I would consider emerging technologies. So a real need for this. And we know, as you highlight, that our customers are anxious to get the very best technologies and bring them forward. On the commercial, more established, larger commercial companies, we are taking a bit of a different pivot. We still have a lot of partners, but we are doubling down with some of our partners in strategic collaboration agreements. We actually have dozens of prototypes in solutioning right now with our commercial partners. Last year, there was an exercise called Mobility Guardian, and one of our SCA partners, Google, helped us develop what we call Cloud in a Box. Have you ever been to Guam?
I have not.
Okay.
But it's on my list.
Okay. It's far away from Washington, D.C., so I'll tell you that. But it is, when you get to Guam, you realize that you really are disconnected from a lot. Yeah. And so the concept of Cloud in a Box was to bring to what could be a disconnected warfighter cloud at the edge. So you want cloud, you want zero trust at the edge, you want software at the edge so that you can do all the things that you want, but in a more disconnected environment. And so that was a huge success for us. We're able to use it for ways in that exercise that we didn't even understand.
Being able to deploy it in the field like that just is the difference maker, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and it's exciting to your point. You know, talent is a huge focus for us. Right. And when the talent gets to see technology converging with the mission and having success and impact, that is tremendous.
So the strategy talks about business execution.
Yes.
What does that mean for GDIT and for the staff in
Well,
that respect?
What is clear is that execution excellence is paramount. So we don't have, frankly, from a national security or even providing government services to our citizens, there's no room for error. And in this environment, there's no room for us to not deliver on our promises. And so by setting up this business excellence or business execution office, trying to accomplish a couple of things. One, focus on execution and programs. And through that lens, we can look at troubled programs, we can look at new programs, we can look at large programs. We can really make sure that we are delivering everything that we have promised and more to our customers. So excited about that. We also created a corporate development office. I know you're really familiar with that. We've talked about that before. That corporate development office starts to look at our capabilities, compare them with our pipelines, our partnerships, whether they be emerging or commercial, and bring together the power of where we need to be focused, both in the bids that are coming up and also in the future in terms of technological capability. And so I'm really excited about what we're doing in that area, because our customers are looking to us not just to solve today's problems, but to really understand what capabilities we need in the future. And those capabilities are not just technical ones, but also what our workforce needs to have in terms of capabilities to deliver that technology. So there's a lot to that office. And finally, we're looking at our centers of excellence around cyber and artificial intelligence, software development. How can we deepen those to bring even more technology to the mission?
So we've seen incredible news in the world of large language models, most recently with Anthropic Mythos, and the impact it's going to have on cybersecurity. It's going to impact both how we as a government think about cybersecurity and the impact on critical infrastructure. This is moving so fast. How should GDIT be thinking about all this change and disruption when it comes to frontier models?
This is why we have to continue to evolve, Roger. This is
Yes.
why agility and speed is so important. This is why we are focused on our partnerships and the investment that emerging and commercial companies like Anthropic are making. So first of all, we got to lean into this. There is tremendous opportunity to use AI. An example that you gave of Claude, AI is being used to detect vulnerabilities in software. That's fabulous. Once you identify them, you have to remediate them.
Correct.
And I know you and I have talked and continue to talk about the government's going to need help remediating the problems or the flaws that could potentially be breached by LLMs or other sort of bad actors. And so there is so much that is happening. And as a business, it is our job to continue to drive our partnerships, because that's how we accelerate solving the solution, investing in solutions ourselves, and identifying all the pieces that our customers are going to need help with as we work through both the opportunity and the threats that the evolution of technology brings about.
There's so much that can be done, that will be done. GDIT is at the forefront supporting the mission. It's fantastic to hear all of this today, Amy. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down. Excited for the future. The company's on a fantastic course. Look forward to hearing what comes next.
Thanks so much, Roger. Lots of momentum for sure. It's an exciting time to be in tech.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to learn more, please go to gdit.com/perspectives.